You know what nobody talks about at dinner tables, family gatherings, or work happy hours? Money. Real money. Not the surface level stuff like gas prices or small raises, but the honest, uncomfortable truth about where people actually stand financially. And the reason is simple. It's embarrassing. Because the reality is that most people, the majority, not just a small group, are essentially broke. Not visibly broke, not homeless or struggling to survive, but financially hollow. From the outside, their lives look stable, even successful, while underneath, they're sitting on a net worth that's close to zero. Here's a number that should stop you cold. 3 out of every 4 Americans will never, at 35, 45, 55, or even over their entire working lives, accumulate $100,000 in net worth. 75%. Most people you pass every day will work for decades and never reach that point. And the disturbing part is this. We're not just talking about people without opportunities. We're talking about people with jobs, careers, even college degrees. People who look like they're doing fine, but underneath, there's almost nothing. A lifetime of paychecks and very little left behind.
My name is Tyler, and I help people understand both the psychology and the mechanics of building real wealth.
Because you need both. Most financial advice gives you tactics without explaining why your habits sabotage them, or mindset without any real steps to follow. Today, we cover both. If you earn decent money but still wonder where it all goes each month, this is for you. Make sure to subscribe and like because this kind of honest content takes time to create. Now, let's ground this in reality. The average 30-year-old American has a net worth of about $7,000. After nearly a decade of working, that's it. By 40, around $18,000. By 50, maybe $43,000. Think about that. Decades of effort and less than what many people spend on a single car. That's not just a personal failure, it's a systemic one. And understanding that system is how you escape it. Here's why $100,000 matters so much. It's not just a milestone, it's a turning point. At $100,000 invested with an average 8% return, your money generates about $8,000 a year on its own. You didn't work for it, you didn't negotiate it, it just grows, quietly, consistently, in the background. Getting to that first $100,000 might take years of discipline, but once you do, the next comes faster, then faster again. It's like pushing a boulder uphill until suddenly gravity starts working with you. The problem is most people never reach that point, and there are 4 specific reasons why. Let's break them down. Trap 1, lifestyle creep, the wealth killer nobody sees coming. Picture this. You have been grinding for 2 years, working hard, putting in the hours, building your skills, advocating for yourself, and finally it pays off. You get a raise, $500 more per month. You're excited, you feel it, you earned it. And so naturally, almost inevitably, you upgrade a few things. A slightly nicer apartment, a better car, more eating out, a few extra subscriptions, $15 here, $10 there, and suddenly, faster than felt possible, that extra $500 is completely gone. In fact, you might be spending $520 more than before because the new apartment came with higher utilities and the car insurance went up and the subscriptions quietly multiplied. This is lifestyle creep, the slow, invisible, perfectly socially acceptable way that wealth gets murdered before it ever gets a chance to exist. What makes lifestyle creep so uniquely dangerous is that it feels correct while it is happening. You made more money, therefore you spend more money. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Every advertisement, every social media post, every cultural message about success is telling you to upgrade, to level up, to enjoy what you earned. And so you do it, and it feels good, and you have no idea that you just traded a permanent improvement in your financial life for a temporary improvement in your lifestyle. Because the brutal truth lifestyle creep hides from you is this. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only number that actually matters for building wealth. Not your salary, not your job title, not your work ethic. The gap. That is the whole game. Everything else is noise. This brings up the most important psychological distinction in personal finance. Feeling rich and being rich are completely different things. Feeling rich is the new car, the trendy apartment, the latest phone, the restaurant that makes your Instagram look like you're doing well. Being rich is having assets that quietly, relentlessly generate money while you're living your life. One is a costume, the other is a machine. And the cruel part is that the costume works. The person with the leased BMW and the luxury apartment looks richer than the person maxing out their Roth IRA and driving a 2016 Honda Civic. Socially, visually, superficially, the costume wins every time. And because we're human beings who care deeply about appearances, we choose the costume over and over again and wonder why the machine never gets built. Let me make this concrete. Richard and poor Peter both make $90,000 a year. Same income, same city, same starting point. Richard locks his lifestyle at $50,000, a used car paid in cash, a modest apartment, Sunday meal prep, dinners at home, skipping the weekend trips that sound fun but are really just expensive. Boring, unglamorous, completely absent from social media. But Richard is investing $40,000 every year without stopping. Peter lives at $85,000. New car lease every 3 years, DoorDash 4 nights a week, the fancy gym, the wardrobe that gets refreshed every season. Peter looks like he's winning. After 10 years, Richard has over $400,000 in invested assets and is approaching real financial freedom. Peter has maybe $30,000 and a car payment. Same income, completely different lives. The income was never the variable. The gap was always the variable. Trap 2. The payments mentality. How modern finance keeps you permanently broke. Quick test. How much does a car cost? If the number that came to mind was something like $399 a month or $450 a month, you have been infected by one of the most effective wealth-destroying ideas in modern consumer culture, the monthly payment mentality. Thinking about purchases not in terms of what they actually cost, but in terms of how small a slice of your monthly income they require. It is brilliant if you are selling things. It is catastrophic if you are buying them. Here is what it actually does to you in concrete numbers. That $30,000 car at $399 a month for 72 months, by the time you are done, you have paid $33,000 to $35,000 with interest. Then your insurance goes up because new cars cost more to insure. Then there's maintenance. Then there's the fact that the car lost 10 to 20% of its value the moment you drove it off the lot, meaning you owe more on the loan than the car is worth before you make a single payment. None of that felt real in the showroom because $399 a month sounded manageable. That's the trick. They do not sell you the car, they sell you the payment. They have engineered the entire purchasing experience to make you stop thinking about total cost and start thinking only about whether you can handle the monthly slice. And once you're thinking in monthly slices, you can be sold almost anything. The payments mentality extends far beyond cars. It's why people carry credit card balances for years, making minimum payments while the interest eats them alive. It's why buy now, pay later has exploded. 0% APR for 12 months sounds like free money until month 13 hits and the interest kicks in retroactively. It's why people have subscription stacks costing $200 to $300 a month. Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV, Amazon, the meal kit, the meditation app, the cloud storage, each one feeling trivial individually, while together draining thousands of dollars a year that leave no trace except a lower bank balance. Every monthly payment is a recurring chain connecting you to the treadmill. You work, you get paid, your money immediately services your payments, nothing is left to build with. Repeat for 40 years and then discover you cannot retire. The fix is simple to say and hard to do because it requires rewiring years of conditioned thinking. Stop thinking in payments. Think only in total cost. If you cannot afford to buy something outright or close to it, you cannot afford it. Full stop. That is the truth the payment system has been hiding from you your entire adult life. A car you cannot pay cash for is a car outside your means, regardless of how reasonable the monthly number sounds. The total cost mentality makes your financial reality clear. And that clarity, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it forces you to say no, is the foundation that everything else gets built on. Trap 3. Waiting to invest, the most expensive mistake you will ever make. Here's the story most people tell themselves about investing. They know they should do it. They fully intend to do it. They're planning to start, just not right now, because right now is complicated. Right now, the timing is not ideal. They have some debt to clear first, or they're waiting till the raise comes through, or they want to do more research before committing. And the months pass, then the years pass, then a decade passes, and the market has been compounding the whole time, quietly building wealth for the people who started with $200 a month while they were still waiting for the perfect moment. That gap between the day you should have started and the day you actually started is possibly the most expensive thing you will ever pay for, and you'll never see a bill for it. You'll just notice, quietly, that other people seem to be doing better financially despite seemingly similar circumstances, and you'll never quite be able to trace the difference back to its source. Here's the math, and I want it to genuinely bother you. If you invest $200 a month starting at 22 at an average 8% return, you cross $100,000 before you are 35. $200, less than most people spend on dining out, less than a car payment. Start that same $200 a month at 32 instead, same return just 10 years later, and you have about $50,000 by the time the first person crossed 100,000. Half. Same money, same market, just a decade of delay, and the result is cut in half. Start at 42 and you barely have 20,000 by your mid-40s. Same person, same discipline, same contribution. The only variable is when you started. The difference between starting at 22 and starting at 42 is not a 20-year delay in results, it's a complete transformation of financial destiny. One version of you builds real wealth in their 30s and watches compound interest do the heavy lifting for decades. The other version works until 67 and retires on Social Security and whatever thin cushion they scrape together at the end. The reason people delay is not because they don't understand the math. It is because the pain of investing, the real, tangible $200 leaving your account today, feels far more immediate than the reward, which is abstract, distant, and completely invisible right now. Your brain is wired for the present. It feels the money leaving today much more vividly than it can feel the $800,000 that money becomes in 40 years. This is not stupidity. It is basic human neuroscience. The solution is to make the decision once and then remove yourself from it entirely. Set up an automatic transfer to your investment account the day after your paycheck hits. Not a manual transfer you do when you remember and feel motivated, but an automatic one that runs whether the market is up, whether you are stressed, whether you had a rough month. Make it automatic and make it non-negotiable. You cannot miss money you never see. And for the inevitable objection about crashes and inflation, yes, crashes happen. 2008 happened, 2020 happened. Your portfolio will drop 20 or 30% at some point, and it will feel catastrophic while it is happening. But every single crash in the history of the stock market has eventually been followed by a full recovery and then new all-time highs. Every one. The people who got destroyed were not the ones who stayed invested, they were the ones who panicked and sold at the bottom, locking in their losses permanently. The people who kept buying through the crash came out the other side with more shares at a lower average cost, perfectly positioned for the recovery. Crashes are not disasters for patient investors. They're sales. You just have to be willing to stay in the game. Trap 4. Owning nothing that grows. Liabilities disguised as life. Do an honest inventory of everything you own right now. Not your income, not what you spend, what is actually on your personal balance sheet. For most people, the list looks like this. A car losing value every single year until it is worth nothing. A phone you paid $1,000 for that will be worth $200 in 2 years. A wardrobe with no resale value that will eventually get donated, a subscription stack bleeding you $200 to $300 a month, streaming services, apps, memberships, software that will never, under any circumstance, generate a single dollar back. Some furniture, some electronics, accumulated stuff that felt important when you bought it and now just takes up space. Every item on that list has one thing in common. It costs you money, and it will never make you money. These are liabilities dressed up as a lifestyle, consumption wearing the costume of ownership. Now look at what genuinely wealthy people own. Stocks and index funds growing in value and paying dividends, real estate appreciating and generating rental income, business equity producing cash flow. The fundamental difference between a wealthy person's balance sheet and everyone else's is not the size of the numbers, it is the nature of what is on it. Wealthy people own things that make money. Most people own things that cost money. And that gap compounds exactly like interest does. Every year you spend accumulating liabilities instead of assets, the wealthy person's machine gets bigger and your treadmill gets faster, and the distance between you grows not slowly and linearly, but exponentially and permanently. The middle class and the wealthy rarely differ dramatically in income. They differ in what they do with income. One group buys things, the other group buys things that buy things. Sit with that for a second, because that single sentence contains more financial truth than most books ever manage to deliver. The road out, the exact system that changes everything. So, with all 4 traps laid out clearly, what do you actually do? Not eventually, not someday, not when the timing feels better. What do you do this week with the income you have right now in the life you are actually living? Step 1 is eliminating all high-interest debt, and this is completely non-negotiable. Any debt charging you more than 7%, credit cards almost universally, most personal loans, store financing arrangements, has to go before anything else. The math is absolute. You cannot out-invest 20% credit card interest. The market returns 8 to 10% in a good year. Your credit card charges you 20 to 29% every single year, without exception or mercy. Paying off high-interest debt is the single best guaranteed return available to you right now. Better than any stock, any fund, any opportunity someone is trying to sell you. Kill it completely. Then never go back. Step 2 is building a real emergency fund, not a token $500 that evaporates the first time anything goes wrong, but a genuine buffer of at least $10,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account, liquid, accessible, and untouched for anything except a true emergency. The reason this comes before aggressive investing is simple. Without it, every unexpected expense sends you straight back into debt. You invest $3,000, the car breaks down, you put $1,500 on a credit card, and you are back at square one. The emergency fund breaks the 2 steps forward, 1 step back cycle that keeps most people permanently in place. And to be absolutely clear about what an emergency fund is for, medical bills, job loss, essential repairs. Not concert tickets, not a vacation that came up, not something that would be really nice to have. Genuine emergencies only. Step 3 is automating your investing so completely that your own decision making is removed from the equation. Set up an automatic transfer of at minimum $500 a month into a simple, broad, low-cost index fund. The S&P 500, the total stock market, something boring and wide that captures the market without requiring you to pick stocks, entries, or make any decisions that your emotions will eventually corrupt. The automation is not a nice to have. It is the core mechanism that makes this whole system work. Because there will be months when you do not feel like investing, months when something else feels more urgent, months when the market is down and your gut is screaming to wait. The automation makes the right decision for you on every single one of those months, without hesitation, without negotiation, without asking how you feel about it. Set it up this week, not next month, this week. Step 4 is the hardest one, the one that requires a genuinely uncomfortable conversation with yourself. Live on significantly less than you make. Not slightly less, not 95% of your income, 50% if you can manage it, even if only for a few years. That sounds extreme, and I understand it feels extreme, and yes, it requires real sacrifice and real changes and real conversations with people around you who will not understand why you are making different choices than they are. But the mathematics are completely undeniable. The person living on 50% of their income and investing the rest is building wealth at a pace that looks almost miraculous from the outside. And from the inside, it's just a system running exactly as designed, quietly, predictably, without drama, turning discipline into freedom 1 month at a time. The formula that makes all of it work. Skill plus time plus compound interest equals wealth. That's the formula. It's not complicated or reserved for the lucky. It's available to anyone willing to follow it. Skill builds your income, and skills can be developed at any stage of life. Time allows compound interest to actually work, and compound interest does what no amount of hustle can. It grows your money quietly in the background while you live your life. You need all three. Most people miss at least one. Usually time because they started late, or discipline because lifestyle creep erased the gap between what they earn and what they spend. Here's the truth. Reaching $100,000 has almost nothing to do with how much you make. People earning $40,000 sometimes get there faster than those earning $150,000. Teachers, nurses, and tradespeople build real wealth, while some high-income professionals stay stuck. The difference isn't income, it's the gap between what comes in and what goes out, and what you do with that gap over time. Your job builds income, your investments build wealth. Most people only focus on one. The path to $100,000 isn't glamorous. It's driving the same car for years while others upgrade. It's bringing lunch when eating out is easier. It's watching your portfolio drop and not panicking. It's saying no now so your future can say yes later. It's boring, repetitive, sometimes frustrating, but it works. And once you hit that first $100,000, everything changes. The next comes faster, then faster again. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. The system is built to keep you consuming, to make spending feel like success and discipline feel like sacrifice. It profits from you staying stuck. Seeing that is step 1. Building anyway is what changes your life. Now go build your first $100,000 because 10 years from now, you'll either be grateful you started or regret that you didn't.